Hello again. I'm Howard Baxton. Today we're going to go through this instruction card number 14 and do a little bit more about Prim Params Editor. The instruction card looks a little bit strong, but not so bad. A few classes ago, that's about a year ago, or maybe a little bit more, one of the classes decided they wanted to learn a little bit more about the Prim Param Editor. So, and specifically, they wanted to learn more about how to move linked prims. So I did my homework, did a little bit of digging, and came up with this little scenario. What we're going to actually do is we're going to take each one of these seats, and when someone is sitting in that seat and clicks uh, one particular menu button, it'll activate a pose, and it'll also move each one of these seats, or the seat that are occupied, up, and we'll use them as a chair. We'll actually sit on them up above the pad, and we'll see how all that works and show you what we had to go through to get there. So in the first situation, first thing that I had to come up and do is decide how I wanted to do that. And I needed to look at the Prim Params Editor wiki. And how I found that is I went to V4, went to the wiki, and scrolled down here in our index to known plugins. Click that, and it should bring up this. And we start going through these known plugins. Lockguard, Lockmeister Change plugin, Sat Not Sat plugin, Sound plugin, Facial Layering, RLV, Prop, this guy, Impose Day Night plugin, Sequencer, which has typically been outdated. We've actually are using timers now instead of the sequencer. I think we can still make that sequencer work if we need to, but we'll go on. I digress. Animesh, Temp Attach, which is also no longer used. So this is for V3 and older versions. We do have an Excite plugin. This is an old plugin as well, back in V2 days. Dismount, Giver, Memory Extension, Access Control List plugin, Move Prims, and the Prim Param Editor. We're going to use the Prim Param Editor. I think it's going to be faster than this. So we'll go ahead and use this. And we're going to go down here at the bottom. Here's some of the older ones. We could have used an offset relative position to move those, but I think it's a little bit slower. What we need to do is actually going to go and use this Prim Local, Position Local, and there should be a Rotation Local too. I don't know where it's at in the list, but it's not in the list. Oh, there it is. Prim Rotation Local. We're going to use those two functions in order to move our linked prims. So when we go over to the set prim parameters, we see the rotation local, and what we need to supply is only a rotation for our linked prim. And for prim position local, which is here, all we need to supply is our vector position, and we're good to go. So with all that said, let's get rid of this guy, get it out of our way. And we'll start. So what do we need to do with this? First, we need to res our pad that I've got down here, and that's this guy right there. So instructions say we need to go ahead and res that. I think you can actually just click on it and drop it down, click and hold and drop it down and drop it onto the ground. If that doesn't work, you can always uh, drag it into your inventory, and from there you can res it and drop it down. And the other thing we need is this interesting little script here. It actually gives us our position and rotation uh, information that we need to go ahead and do that. So that's a little preamble of what we've got going here. So it says res this, open it in the editor, and go to the general tab of the edit window. So this is the general tab. Gives us all of this neat stuff. And it says set up the description in each linked prim for the seats. There are the prims with the numbers on them. So that's the 1, 2, 3, and 4 prims that we've got. It says 1, add the check mark in the edit window for the link prim. So that's this guy. And then it says click on the link prim number 1 on it, and it'll edit that. So let me get this out of the way so we can see it. With that there, we see that is link number 4 actually, but we're naming that link number 4 as our seat number 1. Okay, and in the description field, it's asking us to use this description. So I'm going to do a Control C to copy, or just right click and copy. And we're going to put that in the description field. Control V to paste, or right click and paste. Okay, so the description field is there, and now we've got it. We need that for 2 reasons. One is because when we use this script, it's going to chat out into local all of the linked prims that we have in this build. And so we need to identify, and it'll give us our numbers, our rotation, and our position. So we need to know which numbers apply to which prim. So we're going to use it for that. And also in our prim edit, we need to know the prim we're going to use. Which one is it? Which link prim is it? We'll identify that by the description as well. So we get seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, right on through. And we also used to use them in the rotation, seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4. Okay, so that's the purpose of what we're doing here. So I've got seat 1 set, and it looks like we need to do this with seat 2 as well and give it a description. So let me Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and let's go to 3. And this is the description we need here. So Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and we also need seat 4. So let me copy this. Control C, move that window out of the way, and paste it in there. Now we've got each and every one of those guys going. So we're good with that step. Now here's a quick note. Step 1 is very important for the next step to work correctly. And that's because we're going to get lots of numbers. We need to know which ones apply to which seat. Okay. Step 2, take the script above into your inventory. This is the get link prim, a linked local position and rotation cleaned. That's this guy up here. Take it to your inventory. Now it says when you drop the script into the root prim of the pad, that's along with all the other scripts, it will output the local chat position and rotation for each of the linked prims in the pad, it will then automatically delete itself so it goes away from contents. So it says first thing we do is uncheck the edit linked checkbox in the edit window. If we do that, we're back at the root prim uh, and all that. Now, drop the script into the root prim of the pad and check the dump and local. Dump is all the text that it runs. So in here with all these other scripts, it says these are the numbers we need to put the pad back together. In other words, after we've moved it, which we're going to do down in here somewhere, we want it, and someone stands or moves or whatever, we want it to go back to these positions. So that's what these are going to be used for. So make a card in your inventory and name it set crossed. So let's go ahead and go down in here. And this one. And we'll make a new note card and name it set sit crossed. Sit crossed. Okay, now it says make a line in inventory. For the new line, be sure to use the data for seat 1. So I'm going to kind of speed this all up. I'm going to click right there and drag down and grab all of those. So let me Control C to copy all of that. Now let's open our sit crossed. Scroll down here a little ways and paste those all in. Now all I got to do is dump this, and dump this, and dump this. Delete that. Now I've got all the numbers I need. So I've got one seat 1 information, all of that. So we're good to go there. Let me save this so I don't lose it. Minimize it. Where's my script? It's under Prim Param. That's a good place for it. Prim Param Editor. There we go. Matter of fact, let's just move this up here too. Okay, so I've got this. Let's dump it in. Now you see here's my list. And this prim's got no description, or that's the description field. I think that's probably the NPOS mesh that you see there. Okay, so I go into local. Here's all my data. Let me stretch this out so we can see it all in one line. Okay, seat 1. Here's our position vector. Let's go ahead and copy that, Control C, and open our set, sit crossed. And we want our position vector to go there. And we also need the rotation vector. So let's grab that. Control C, Control V. Now C2. We take the position vector, C2. Right here. Control C, Control V, and now we need C2's rotation. So let's go get that. All these rotations are the same. Control C, Control V, since they're all the same. I'm just going to go Control V and Control V. Now I've got all the rotations, and they're all the same. Now all I need is C3 position, which is here. Control C, Control V, and I need seat 4 position. Control C, and Control V. Now, as you see, I've been using copy and paste a lot, and that's most of what you're going to do with with Impose. You don't have to write every line out and go. So get used to copy paste with Impose because that's going to be your huge, it'll be a huge speed up and advantage, and your workflow will go better. So copy paste. So if I ever wanted to do this again, I've already got this whole line here for on unsit. So in other words, when someone unsits from seat 2, it's going to fire off to the Prim Param Editor and change the Prim Position Local and also change the Prim Rotation Local for that particular item. So that was seat 1. So it actually, we'd be doing this one. Okay, now I've got a comment up here at the front of all of these lines. So Impose is going to see each one of these lines as a comment, and it won't process them. That's because if we do process them right now, or while we're in this workflow of setting up all our things, this is going to get in the way, and I don't want that. I want to disable that for now. We'll get that back to normal after we finish everything. So our next step here, we've done that. And a little note says we can get back to the original settings with these lines. And a little note about the pound. Next, we need to set up the exams for the card so we can change everyone's pose. So in other words, in order for all of these on sits to work, or on unsits, we actually have to have exam lines in there. Okay, so step 4 says copy the exam lines from the set default and paste them into our new card named set crossed. Add these lines at the top of the card. So we'll just put them clear up the top. And it says change all the pose names from the meditation to sit crossed. Okay, so the first thing I need to go to do is open this note card, grab all this, Control C. I don't need this anymore. And go back to this guy, and at the top, do the Control V, and it says we want to change the meditation in all of those lines to sit crossed. And do we have that animation in here? Yes, we do. So I can highlight this and right click and rename and do a Control C to copy. Be careful not to change that. This is kind of a delicate stage here. And escape out of that, so that's all done. And then we can go in here and do the Control V, Control V, Control V, and Control V, and we're all done. Okay, so that step's all done. Let me save that just to keep things going. So we've got all of our sit crossed in there. And next it says, now we need to set up those linked prims in their desired position when we select this card from the menu. Okay, so let's see. We need to set the pad in seat 1. Click for menu and click the sit crossed menu button. We can't do that without the note card in there. Oh, it is in there. Oh, and that's finished. I'm going to rename this one to XXX on the end. There we go. This is my 3rd time through the note card, making all kinds of crazy mistakes. So I do have the sit crossed in there already. I've got one completed and it works. So let's just, this is all saved. Let me close it out. This is the one that's in inventory. So that's this one. And we're just going to go ahead and add that to the pad. Just click and drag it and drop it over in there. And now we have it. So it says actually I need to set the pad in seat 1 and then click the menu and then click the set crossed menu button. Okay, so let me do that. Let me set here. It's click for menu, click sit crossed. Actually, I should have been put into this default pose. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we're in sit crossed. And then what's it say? Edit link prims and select the link prim with the number 1 on it. Move that prim up so that it becomes a chair for you. Rotate the prim such that it's not pokey in the bottom with the corners. So let's see. Close that out. Get it out of the way. So we need to click this link prim, edit link prims, click that link prim, and then we need to move it up as a chair. So let's go ahead and just move it up. That should be about right. But we need to rotate it. So let's rotate that. I don't know where I need it to go. I think it's here. So now our instructions are saying that one's set. Oh, I'm down here. And rotate the prim into the bottom side, then change it for 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I can go to the utilities, I can change seat to seat 2. And I can do the same thing. I could actually edit this, move it up, but I'm going to take another shortcut because I like that. Let's go in here to object, and now this Z position from here moved up to there. It's the same for all 4 seats. So let's just copy this value and put that in here. Now, we could do the same here and copy this rotation and the Z rotation. So let's go ahead and do that and put it here. There we go. That one's in position. Let's go to seat 3 and edit that. Since I've got this one already, Control V that. Control C. Control V that. And move to seat 4. And we can Control V this. And we need this rotation again, so that's 225. Control C that. And rotate this one. Control V. There we go. Now we've got all of these things set where they ought to be. And using a few shortcuts, we got there. So what do we want to do next? Now it says all the seats are moved into position, so we can use that handy script again and get the positions and rotations once again for these new positions. So let's go ahead and go to the contents, uncheck this guy like we did before, drop that script in again, and you can see I got everything printed out into local. First one was no description. We've got seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, and we've got another one. I'm not sure what happened, but we're only concerned with these 4 right here. Okay, and I know all these rotations are changed because we've changed them all. And they actually look like they're all the same rotation, so that's an easy copy paste. Let's get all the rotations done. Wait a minute, something's missing here. We want to do the onsits now. So that's when something happens or we go into this pose and we have a sitter. So onsit actually looks for a sitter here first. So add the script, edit the set, sit cross note card in the pad. So we don't want to edit this one. We want to edit this one. Okay. And it says make a line. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. Move down here. I want this one. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to grab all 4 of those lines, copy them with Control C, and I think I want to just paste them in. And for me, I like to put my onsits above my unsits because this is going to happen first, then this. So this happens first, this happens second, this happens third. And I'll get rid of these guys. Okay, this is another take starting from here. So I made a few mistakes, didn't have any audio, so we're going to continue on. Let's go ahead and delete this guy and this guy. Now we're all good. Now all of our uh, rotations are the same, so let me copy that, Control C, and we'll put Control V, Control V, Control V, and Control V. Now all we need is our position vectors. So let's go up here to seat 1, Control C, Control V, seat 2, Control C, Control V, seat 3, Control C, Control V, seat 4, Control C, and Control V. We've got all of those now. So what's next on our list? Once you finish getting the position and rotation numbers, remove the temporarily, remove the temporarily disabling in all of the onset lines by removing the pound before the unset. So that would be this pound, this pound, this pound, and this pound. Okay. Save and close the card. Check that the sat not sat handler plugin has been added. Here's our sat not sat. It is added, so we're in good shape. We do need that to be in place. So let's save and close this. Now then, I'm going to pull a little trick here. I'm going to minimize that. That's this one right here. So if I double click this, yes, it opened up that card. So that's the one. I always need to check to make sure I'm not dealing with this one. I'm dealing with that one. So this is the one in memory. We should be good to go. So now, if I go ahead and sit here, and I'm in sit cross, then the pad comes up and now it's seated. So let's get rid of this. Let's go to utilities, change seats. Let's change to seat 2. Okay, the seat 1 goes back to the original position. Seat 2 pops up for my seat because I'm there. Seat 3, same thing. Seat 2 drops down. Seat 3 is up. Now let's go to seat 4. Same thing. Seat 4 pops up. Seat 3 pops down. And if I go back to seat 1, I'm in good shape. And it don't matter how it works. It all goes to the same place. Very cool. If I stand, my seat goes back down just like it should. That's what we wanted. Okay, now you see that I've got the little icon here for the seat. So when I hover over the number 2, that's cool. I can sit directly to number 2 by clicking that. Remember, default action is um, to put the new sitter in the lowest available seat, which would be 1. However, since I've got numbered this link prim and the name is 2, let's go ahead and edit that and go check. Link prim for 2, the name is the number 2. Okay, so it's going to point to the number 2 seat, which is set up in all of our note cards. So if I go back here and actually look, let's get rid of that again. Let's look in the default. So we've got seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, and seat 4. If I click to sit on this seat, it will assign me to seat 2, which is in this position and in this rotation. Okay, so in the sit crossed, we have the same thing. We have sit 2, but it's sit crossed. It's in that same position, that same rotation. So I can sit directly to that. Get rid of that so we've got the highlight here. It sets me in seat 2. If I stand, this one sets me in seat 4. If I stand, this one sets me in seat 1. Okay, so we can actually have NPOS predict where the sitter wants to sit based on this. Now, if you notice I hover over the NPOS mesh, I don't get the seat. I don't get the seat. That was done basically by linked prims. And if I click on the NPOS mesh and go over here, you see click to the default action here is touch. If I look at one of the link prims, the default action is sit on object, and that's selectable. Okay, so that's how I did that. I went to each one of these link prims and told it to sit on object. That was the default action. And these 2 prims, the default action is just touch. So that one changes the cursor if I hover over one of these and puts it just back to the finger when I hover over this. So if I right click on either one of these 2 unnumbered linked prims and set here, the default action takes over. However, if I sit on one of these that has a linked or has a numbered prim, I will sit directly to that one. It overrides the default action when we have numbered prims or numbered linked prims. Okay, and for all of that, I think this should conclude the video, and I'm happy with it. I hope. We'll see what happens. See you in the next video.